What's up everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Thanks for joining me today. Got a lot of work that we've gotten done so far, still more to come. This is getting really exciting at this point because we are starting to make our way towards the end of this project. I say starting to make our way towards the end, we're probably just past halfway at this point. So we're getting there. Thing to do today, have the sandblaster out. We got the bumper patched and the last one, got that all fixed up. So now we need to get this thing sandblasted, painted on a frame, and then we can start working on the body panels. So we're going to get sandblasting. And this is our finished sandblasted bumper. Looks really good. Did just touch up a few spots with the flat disc on the grinder, but I think it looks great. So I think what I'm going to try to do is put one coat of paint on the back of it and then try to get it mounted on the trailer so we can get a good coat on the front. And so put 2 coats of the chassis saver on it and then 1 top coat, and we should be good to go. So let's get painting. Here is the finished bumper. So I think it turned out all right. I did have a few issues when I was painting it. I brushed on the top coat first and it left it really streaky. So I sanded that down, sprayed it on, and along the bends here on both sides, I had some runs in it, got it too thick there. So I sanded that down and sprayed it again. But I think overall turned out pretty good. I mean, it's not perfect, not how, exactly I would like it, but I think it's good enough for this. So now that this is done, let's go inside and we're going to start trying to remake this piece right here. So let's head in. So now we're getting to one of the most exciting parts of the build so far, which is the bodywork. Also, I'm the most nervous about this because, and I do want to preface this by, I have no experience working with sheet metal at all or any kind of bodywork, so I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just going for it and, going to do the best I can, and we'll just see what happens and see how this turns out. So what I have starting out set up right here is the sheet metal. This piece is 25 inches by 52. So the actual finished edge of the piece is 50 inches, and 25 is a little long, so it does have a 1-inch tab to where this bolts up to the other side of the bed. So what I am looking at right now is I have these pieces of 1.5 inch outside diameter tube cut up into roughly 1 inch segments. The cuts are not straight, but that doesn't matter. So what I'm looking at doing is I'm going to take, measuring off the old one, it looks like after the bend, the top of the bend is 4.5 inches up. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to set these guys up where they need to be at 4.5 inches, and I'm going to weld them down all along this line at 4.5 inches. Okay, so I'm going to weld those down and then try, and I'll probably take like a 2x4 or something and clamp it over on this side. So and then I'm just going to try to gradually roll this piece up, roll it forward, and tack it along these pieces right here as I go to hold it. Now, again, I'm not sure if this will work, but this is the best idea that I could come up with on doing this, and I think it's going to work. Not sure, but we're going to find out. We're going to hop to it, and you know, we can just do the best we can, really. So I mean, if this doesn't work, we can always buy another one, or buy a complete piece if we want to go that route. But I wanted to try to fix it. I want to try to do it myself, so let's jump into it. So I'm going to start. I'm going to measure down 4.5 inches. Give myself a mark. Going to do the same thing on the other side. 4.5. Take this level as my straight edge and get my line all the way across it. All right, so got my line down. Now what I'm going to do is, because this whole thing is 52 inches wide, so it's actually 52 1/8. So I'm going to come off this side, because once we get this rolled over, we will need to cut off the extra inch at the top on this roll so we have room to fold this over. So I'm going to come in now. Come in 1 1/8 and mark that. I'm going to do the same on the other side. And I'll take my speed square. I'm just going to draw this down. This right here isn't the most important, but I'll draw up too, just so we know. All right, so now that we have this kind of laid out, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take and I'm going to pull off the tape down. And these guys should be roughly 7 inches apart. Lay them down, and I have just a straight line on all of these, just so I can kind of line them up straight, and I'll just tack them down. Now this is our setup right now. What we're going to try to do is we have this board clamped down right up against these, because we want to try to bend this part first all the way down, and we'll just start working from this way down. And what we're going to try to do is going to try to heat up right up next to these and just slowly work our way pushing up from the bottom, just trying to bend this over and around. So it'll be a little bit of a process. And again, not sure if this is going to work or not, but right now this is the plan we have and what we're going to try to do. And here's our progress so far. So, as you saw in the time lapse, the original idea didn't really work out. This is 18 gauge steel, so it didn't quite bend like I wanted it to. It was a little bit more difficult. So we didn't just end up taking the rubber mallet and kind of leaning on it with our body weight and then beating it in. But seems to have turned out pretty good so far. We'll just need to now go down here and weld it up. So it'll be a little bit just, you know, spot welding every bit just so we don't burn through it. And then we'll really straighten this up once we get that down and finish it off with any kind of waviness, to finish it off with Bondo once we get to the finished work. But I'm pretty happy with it so far. I mean, it's not perfect right now, but I think it'll be really nice, and I'm really happy with it at this point. So now I'm just gonna get to weld the rest of this out. And I just got through finishing up the welds on this. It is definitely not my prettiest work, but it'll get the job done. And really you won't be able to see it because I'm gonna clean these up and smooth out this transition with some Bondo. So it's not gonna be a big deal. You won't see it anyways. It'll get the job done. Now, what we're gonna head to now is we need to trim this up because you see that piece is set in. So we need to trim off an inch here because we need to fold this, bend it 90 degrees this way, because we'll use that flange that we're gonna bend here to connect this piece, which is the front of the bed, to the other sides of the bed. So they'll have the piece that comes straight down right here, and we'll run a bolt between that and that flange. So I'm gonna get this cut off on both sides, and then we'll work on that flange. All right, here we go. So I have my line marked out here, and if anything, I'm just gonna try to stay on this side of the line because I can always take more off later. I don't wanna take too much off now and then kind of be stuck with it. So let's give it a go. And what you just saw there at the end, added a few more tacks in here just to make this a little bit more solid because we are going to be bolting up against it and tightening down. And then what I just did is I took a Dremel and smoothed these out. And what I plan to do is probably take some JB Weld and use it to fill in the cracks, and then I can smooth that down and get a nice transition in there. But that'll come next, or that won't come next. What'll come next is bending this flange, so we can bend this flange, get that trimmed, and then we can put in that JB Weld to smooth that down. Now transitioning to these flanges, I do want to get these bent before we finish out the caps. But we have it set up like this now, and we're going to start on the far side. So much like we've done a lot of other things, like bending metal in the bench vise, we're going to use the edge of this bench to do that. So I have my line marked out here. And on this side, it's 1 1/8 is the overhang to get our width right. So I had got my line marked out and drawn, and lined the flange up with the edge of the table that I want. And you can see, got this 2x4 clamped down right on the line. So when we hit this, this should only be moving. So it'll hold this steady. And yeah, so we're just going to use the rubber mallet and just hit down on this corner all along the way and just continually work it down until we have that 90-degree angle that we're looking for. I have this other side set up the same way, and the good thing is I don't have to worry about the other end being bent, because this sheet metal is flexible enough that since that side is off the table because it's bent up, this is able to flex and come in flat here, so we shouldn't have any issues. So have it clamped up and just going to work it back and forth. Here's what we're looking at. This is the front side of it, and we were going for 50 inches. Right on 50, so that is perfect. Perfect width. Now let's turn it around. And this will be the inside part of the bed. And so what we can do, if we want to get these angles sharpened up a little bit more, I can take a dolly, a body dolly, line it up in here and kind of beat this up more of a 90, more of a sharper edge rather. So now what I'm going to do, as you can see, we do have these flanges bent over top of the cap now. So I'm going to go ahead and get these trimmed to where it needs to be, and then I'll show you what the final product looks like. Here's the final piece. So I got the sides cut down, and you can see I put some JB weld in there. So got it trimmed out nicely, and did the same on the other side. Now I'm doing this because, as you can tell, or as you could tell by the previous shots of this, the welds going around this were not pretty, and it wasn't fastened up nicely. So this right here will clean that off, and I'll be able to sand this down, make it nice and smooth, and you know, it'll look really nice like that. So now I just have it right beside the other one for a little comparison, and as you can tell, it is taller than the other one. So there's a reason for that. I had originally set this up when we were bending the top of this to have the same dimensions as this. So I measured from the bottom here up to the middle of this roll, and from the back side to the middle of the roll, and set these guys up, the tube up in there as it would to match this. Now what happened was, when we were rolling it, it rolled differently than how, you know, I had measured for it. So the back side of it became a lot shorter. As you can see, this one goes down a lot further on it, where this is really tight. So that's our difference, but that's not an issue right now anyways, because I'm going to be redoing the sides of it, you know, redoing the sides, and I'm not sure if I'm going to need to make them any kind of longer or shorter than they currently are, because I'll basically be redoing everything but like the top roll. So on those, the roll is like over here, and it bends down at like a 45 and then straight down. So I'll be redoing those so I can match up the height of this to the height of the new ones that I make. And if I need to trim it down to the size of what that was, then I can do that. No big deal. So it's actually not a bad thing that it's a little bit tall right now. But yeah, there we go. It's pretty awesome. As you can see, the side on this, the flange where they bolt together, that one's pretty tore up. Got the fresh one here. Same thing with this side. And so you can see this was the original, and then this was added on after the bottom of this broke or whatever. But I will not be drilling this. So the same thing as the height of this, I won't be drilling the holes until I can get this matched up with the new size that I'm going to make. So we'll get in the next one. So this will be it for this video. And the next one we'll get the Bondo on it to finish out the top and smooth everything out, make it look really good, and then probably get it primed in, and then we'll move on from there. So we'll leave the primer on it while we get the other stuff made, and then we can get our final fit and everything we needed done once all the pieces have been primed in, and then of course go back for our final coat once everything fits correctly. Because I don't want, you know, to get holes drilled in this and then have trouble matching them up, or at least get this one painted. It'd be dumb to go ahead and paint the base coat and clear coat on this while we still have everything to work, because I'm sure it'll get scratched and it'll still be a little bit before everything else is done. So yeah, that was long. Enough talking on that. Thanks for joining me. I am really excited to get to this point. This is the part of the series that I've really been looking forward to. I've never done any kind of sheet metal work, body work, anything like that. So it's really exciting for me to get to this point and be able to really jump into this, learn, and figure things out as I go. And I mean, this is where you make everything look pretty and make everything fit and look nice. And that's going to be, a hard thing. It takes a lot of patience to get that point, but I'm looking forward to it. Stay tuned for the next one. It's getting really exciting now. Thanks for watching. We'll see you.